like to set up a skateboard on the first day of every month. So it's March 1st, 2025. This is the first setup video I've ever done. But the main thing is that I set up a new skateboard on the first day of the month, and on the last day of the month it's complete. So each month is a unique design, and that's a whole year of 12 skateboards, 12 unique designs. That way I can look back, depending on the year, and know where I was at in a year, depending on what type of skateboard I was using. I skate an hour a day, every day. Back then for 2 or 3 years. Get back into it because I didn't understand when I needed to set up a new skateboard. And once I had one, I thought I had one, and just learned with that one that I had. I didn't understand when to get a skateboard, how to get a skateboard, when to set up so right now, I guess the stuff I'm using is not really important. I have a preference or a choice right now, but for the most part, I'll pretty much use anything. And then I know a lot of people grip their boards with razor blades. I like to use one particular blade for each gear. So like this blade will particularly be for 2025. I think that just allows me to some accountability to something that is dangerous in skateboarding. And I think it's a little bit better to use than like a razor blade. I shave with razor blades. I used to use box cutters when I worked at a grocery store. And one day I just got scared. I was like, I don't want to use this razor blade. It's making me feel dangerous. It's making me feel like I might hurt someone, and I just quit using them. So I just opened boxes by taking the tape off. And I guess I feel that way about razor blades still to this day. It's something extra dangerous. Maybe when I was in treatment facility, they told me that people were keeping razor blades in their mouth, which was a weird thing, but they're telling me about gangsters and stuff like that. It probably prepared me for the penitentiary, but I don't know. They always told me that if somebody gets hit with a razor in the penitentiary, that they wouldn't even know they got hit until it was too late, just because it's so sharp that you just don't even feel it until you're bleeding. So I don't like to use razor blades. I prefer to use what's kind of obviously a more dangerous knife. But if I use one knife, one blade every year, then I feel like there's some accountability. I can say, oh, which deck was it? Yeah, I can remember which blade I used to grip it. Whatever that is. Some of that has to do with working at a haunted house. Like supernatural things aren't too far-fetched from the imagination. And I really believe that there should be some sort of accountability to things like that too. So I think that's my part in appreciating that things that aren't dangerous, or because safety is that important. You just have to take an extra look at things for the sake of fear and for the sake of safety. down in Florida. I lived in Florida for a time, mostly in corrections and things, but I saw this piece of art. It was a big concrete mural. And it was these people, kind of like Greek, Roman art. They were all naked and what looked like in fire. Now they were covered by what appeared to be flames, almost as if they were in hell. But it was concrete, so it wasn't colored or anything. Well, years later, I figured, that concrete kind of proves that there's no difference between wind, water, or fire. And that's a pretty important thought in windy days. Tornadoes, floods, some of the fires that are going on in LA, You know what they say, if you're going through hell, just keep going. So that's got to be important, right? It said some people like to do this, and some people don't. Some people don't prefer to do this. Some people do. Sometimes I've done it. Sometimes I've gone without it. And they both look good. I think this sanded look kind of reminds me of kind of like a surfboard for some reason. It has kind of like a woodsman feel to it. So I kind of like it. And it only lasts like this for, so long where you can't even tell it's like that. Particular grip is perforated, however you say it, a lot better than some of the other perforated grips. I get down to the end of a deck and I literally see perforations. So now whether that's good or bad, I don't know, but I know this really good grip. It's been suggested a lot by some of the better tubers. I like it. I like this particular brand. First time I tried it, and this is the extra version of the brand. It's a whole lot better too. Some of this stuff is just stuff I'm putting back together. It's not all brand new or anything. Some things you have to be cost effective with, and I think trucks are especially an important thing to be cost effective with, especially skating street stuff. I think transitions are much finer skateboarding. So it's good to have nice new trucks more often. But with street, you're just banging around a lot more in a way, I guess. Either way, I'm probably trying to justify or rationalize that, but because I can't afford it, but I'm all right with it. I don't want to pay $100 every month, and imagine $100 every 6 months or twice a year is not bad for trucks. But even then, I imagine they get pretty rough. I always change bushings though. Every skateboard, I like to have new bushings. Now, I don't always use new bushings, but I always try to suit the bushings I'm using with the design on the deck. Kind of like color coordinating, fashion type appreciation of what I'm putting together. And today I'm not doing that at all. Exactly spring right now, but it's much better than it was. I don't really have a preference on how hard my bushings are either. Sometimes I like them hard, sometimes I like them soft. I like a little flex in my bushings, you know, for it to move. Too tight. I don't comprehend the skateboard as well. If it doesn't move with me, then it's moving me. And I don't mind being moved by a skateboard, but it's really like the difference between skating Mongo and not. Like, is the skateboard leading me or am I leading the skateboard? You know, I hate to use the word in control, but am I in control or is it in control? A lot of people would ask themselves that about drinking or something. Is the drinking controlling me or am I controlling the drinking? Once this has become a question about drinking or not, I'm kind of lost interest in an option. Got a local skate shop in the next town over. They only sell a particular brand of bearings, and it's really hard to explain to them why I don't want to use that particular brand. But I have a friend with the same name as the brand. So his name is what the brand of bearings are. Whenever I see those bearings, I think of that guy. Oh yeah, that's, and the funny thing about that guy is he got in a car wreck. And he had to have steel rods put in his neck. He can't move either way like this. He's stuck. He's kind of like stationary after that. And I don't want to use that brand of bearings because of that. I'm sure they're good bearings. I mean, I imagine I'd appreciate them a lot, but because that happened to be on my mind when I thought about those as an option, it just was not a good idea. I'm going to put bolts in before I do this. Forgot how hard these wheels are. These wheels are like 103 Durameter, and it's just too cold out here to sit there and mess with the wheel that hard. I don't have a bearing tool, and it's just going to be difficult putting the bearings in those wheels. I like softer wheels. I think harder wheels are another feeling under my feet, you know. So I appreciate them. I think it's just what I got right now. I wanted to get those because they're slims. I like the idea of slims. They give me a little finer skate. Kind of like using a razor is a funny thing. you know, like shaving or something. But that's just what I got right now. I could have put old wheels on here, but I had these because they're new. I was like, nah, you know, might as well. I've done everything, bolts and grip. I mean that. I have put bolts on before grip. I have put half the bolts on before grip. Gripped over my bolts so you can't see them at all. But it doesn't really matter. It's kind of a whatever type thing, you know. However I want to feel is the way I'm going to feel. This skateboard doesn't really matter. I don't guess it matters all that much. I like symmetrical skateboards, and I have become really picky, and it's because of the way it makes my body feel. With the impression of the skateboard on my feet. I like the gym. I kind of got into bodybuilding a lot. So symmetry is very simple. I grab 50 pounds, I grab 50 pounds. I grab 40 pounds, I grab 40 pounds. I never want to grab like 30 and then 50. It would take my balance off. So this idea kind of goes with the symmetry of the kicks to me. And another thing, another strange story is my stepbrother, he got really bad scoliosis. Like seriously bad. Like his spine just curved all the way out. He had to get surgery for it. And the thing about that is that when I stand on a skateboard that's not symmetrical, somehow I swear I literally feel like that kick, because I used to use the big kick as the tail in appreciation of old skateboards, you know, the ones that didn't have the noses. That when I feel that big kick on my right foot where his spine does that curvature, it feels like the impression of the skateboard on my foot is what pushed his spine out, his body. It messes me up so bad, like terribly bad, that I will not. When I found the opportunity to use symmetrical skateboards, I just could not get past that idea. Which is crazy. Like I said, just like the bearing thing, like that guy and his name's the same name. He can't, you know, it's weird things like that. But I've been in a lot of trouble, and I work in a haunted house. So it doesn't surprise me that things are that extraordinarily strange. You know, kind of almost a phenomenon of disbelief. But I can't make this stuff up. This is in appreciation to playing cards to me. So playing cards, not so much that they're precise, you know, 52 cards in a week, 52 weeks in a year, 4 suits in a deck, 4 seasons in a year, 12 picture cards, 12 months in a year, because they are precise like that. But in a way, it's the essence of it. Like, so if you open a new deck of cards and they just spill everywhere because you can't handle them very well, then that's their expertise, and you've got to adjust to that expertise. But every time I set up a skateboard, I feel like I'm setting up this expertise, and I've got to adjust to this expertise. Just like opening a fresh deck of playing cards. And it's just very important to me to keep those ideas that are the essence in mind, you know? It's that expertise that makes me grateful for these changes and these differences. They're hard to appreciate. Shout out to Ratchet Tools. It's not a brand, it's something that's always been a part of tools and machining. I know that ratchets were awesome to me when I was a kid, I used to work with my stepdad on vending machines like gumball machines and pop machines and snack machines. So when I found skateboards, I found lock nuts and ideas like that to be fascinating. You know, those nylon tips and the bolts, that was awesome to me. You know, that was the greatest innovation in machining there ever was. And I'd only found it in skateboarding. So I really thought that was a game changer. But in skateboarding, ratchets really are a game changer. But it's something that had always been around. Not that nylon bolts or nuts hadn't always been around, but I'd never seen them. And I'd put together tons of gumball machines. Over 100 one day. And I thought that was the coolest thing, you know, that these bolts had locks on them that way. I mean, the nuts had locks on them. Something I wouldn't otherwise appreciate. I wish I would have brought a real screwdriver. It'd be a lot easier to hand down rather than hold this little L. Painful. I believe that the first time you tighten bolts on a board is pretty important. Of course, for one, for how well the grip looks after you're done, but for two, if you press a bolt into a deck well enough, my experience has shown me that you should never have to tighten them again. If everything's just right and the bolt presses into the wood well enough, that nylon lock nut should hold that in place and you should never have to tighten them again. At least it's the way it's been for the duration of a month. Now beyond that, I imagine, I have had to tighten them, but most of the time I can trust my bolts are not going to be loose. I'm not going to need to tighten them. It's not a big deal now. These nuts, they need tightening. Right now, I currently work with a job that I put bolts on a lot. I never liked skateboarding bolts. They're always Allen. But now they're Star nuts. So, I don't know. I guess the question that came to mind was, do I prefer Phillips or Allen? And I know both guys, one guy named Allen, one guy named Phillip. Phillip died in a DUI-related accident, but I know another Phillip. And I always used Phillips screwdrivers growing up when I was working on vending machines and stuff. But I like Allen bolts, so I like the way they look on a skateboard. like the idea of using a Phillips, and here I am, really not able to use one right now. So if there's another way to do this, I don't have to sit here. Gotta run away. I like to crisscross my bolts too. I like to tighten them in the form of an X. So like that. I think that just makes for a stronger connection for the truck to face the board, Never make the mistake, never have, of putting the trucks on backwards. I know that happens. But I swear, even beyond the idea of a symmetrical skateboard, and I think the symmetrical skateboard could really help prevent people from making that mistake. Fingerboards were the reason I never made that mistake. I learned that on a fingerboard and have never made that mistake because of a fingerboard. Like I said, 103 wheels is really hard to get bearings on, especially without a tool. I'm gonna have to sit here and push and struggle and fight, especially because it's cold out here. Other than that, I feel like I need some gloves on. Might set this up, find a way to get some gloves or something. Love new bearings. These aren't ceramic, but I really like bearings. I feel like it's good to try them. So if you haven't tried ceramics, they're certainly worth trying. No doubt in my mind, they're a good feeling on a skateboard. Good, it shouldn't be so difficult. I like my designs facing in. Of course, I like to show them off early on, but nothing looks better than that clean white wheel. It's nice. They make rethreaders, but I hardly need rethreaders. What I need is something that's going to keep the nuts in shape. Well, I can fit the tool on there. Crazy. When you get in trouble, you can't skate. I figured that out the hard way. I remember 20 years ago, I was skating every day, and I ended up getting in trouble and getting detained. And it's such a terrible thing to be incarcerated or, you know, in jail. And I was in a juvenile facility, but it's just so terrible being there and seeing three sets and stuff that you could skate when you can't skate. Not that I'm asking them to put skate parks in detention centers, but you know, there are a lot of things in this world that you just can't do when you're detained, or you just can't do when you're not free. And skateboard is one of the most liberating sports there ever was. In its way, that's the best reason in the world for freedom. Skateboard, you know? Before, with or without it, you know, you just had to accept it. But I'd much rather accept it if I got it than had to accept it, had to long for it, like I'll never have it again. That's what happened. I had to want it like it wasn't possible anymore, and I only ever wanted it to be possible after that. I guess in my mind, that's why I became so grateful for the gym. And if I could understand how to go to the gym every day, and it suddenly occurred to me I had what it took to skate. Because all I had to do was do it every day. As long as I could do that, then I could learn and I could make progress again. And that took me a while to get to. That and the little sweet nothings I'd hear, like, you don't skate switch, you're gonna have a stroke. Now, of course, I was probably far from the health condition to actually have a stroke, but even when I was in the gym and, you know, improving my symmetry and things like that, I could tell because I'm not pushing switch, because I'm not skating switch, because I'm only pushing regular one way. Like, I really don't feel like I'm working on my symmetry, although I know for a fact I am, you know? Like, I can sit there and fool myself, like I'm perfecting symmetry, and these consistent demands of weights are symmetrical, and all that's true, but if I'm not skating switch, knowing that I love skateboarding, knowing that I skate, I'm just fooling myself about values. And that was tough to have to appreciate. Like, I have to skate switch. I got to be dumb. I got to get out, and I've got to try. You know, just to accept that I'm gonna look dumb until I do it well enough to do it well. You know, I think that's the hardest part. And then the moments where you realize when you skate switch, it's like you just have another person on you, like you got an ogre growing on your side that you're not using or something. Until you can get past that, it just feels like you're just going to be handicapped. I know last night I was writing. I write right-handed, but I decided that I'd write left-handed. And I cannot write left-handed at all. My left-handed writing looks so ugly, so foreign. Looks like a child, looks like a 3-year-old. It's almost like that inner child is just that side of me that I'm not using. That switch stance and skateboard, I don't want to learn, you know? And that's funny. It's almost like thinking, I could tell a child, I don't want you to learn because you might get better or I might not be as good as I am. You know, that would be crazy to tell a child that. I don't want you to learn because that would mean I might not be better, you know? These wheels have been surprisingly easy to put on, and I'm grateful for that. Man, sometimes I remember they were so tough to put on. Like I'd sit there and I just struggled. It almost like broke me trying to put those on. And I mean, I'm a pretty strong guy, but these are more technique strengths, you know? And that's a big difference. Like if you don't know the techniques, then you just don't have the strength. Regardless of the strength that you have, it's just not there. I guess that's pretty practical for all of skateboarding, but in all honesty, I think it's pretty simple. I'm glad I'm doing this. I got to say a few things that I might not have said otherwise. But I set up and film. Got a pretty good looking skateboard put together here. And I'm ready to get warmed up. Like this wind is nasty cold. I ain't got no shouts other than out. That's about the only shouts I got out. I love personal space. I believe that the skateboard is my personal space device. So if there was ever a shout out, I think that it's like serious. I'm trying to shout somebody out, but what I'm saying is that this is my personal space. Without it, I can't be true to myself. I can't be myself. It's mine. It's not mine and yours. It's not yours too. It's not ours. It's just mine. And you need to set one up too so you can have yours. Nobody can bother you or tell you what to do or tell you how to be. And you can learn to appreciate those things about yourself on your own. This is a good looking skateboard. I'm done. I'm glad it's set up. I'm glad March is here. I'm glad the air goes